Okay, and welcome everyone to our session today on demystifying Power Platform licensing. Your presenters today are John Schulman and Carlos Oquendo, and they are both BizApps specialists serving state and local government customers. And we aim today to provide a digital event that respects all individuals. So we ask that everyone assist in providing a welcoming and safe environment for everyone. We do bring 3 of these events to our customers each month. If you have a topic you'd like us to consider in the future, drop that in the chat today and we'll take consideration of that. And to minimize any distractions or potential background noise, we have everyone muted. We will leverage the chat for questions during the presentation. So go ahead and post your question there and we'll get it answered. Also, we hope to have some time at the end where we can unmute the lines and take live questions as well. And lastly, you will receive an email from myself, Deb Victor, DE Victor at Microsoft.com, which will include the recording from today's presentation. If you don't wish to receive those in the future, go ahead and reply back and I'll take you off that distribution list. So with that, I am going to hand it over to John Schulman. Thank you, John, for bringing this great topic to our customers today.
Yeah, thank you, Deb. Welcome everyone to Demystifying Power Platform Licensing. We hope to do just that today. We have a jam-packed schedule of things that we're going to cover to help with the topic at hand. And we're going to start out first with just talking a little bit about the Power Platform basics, just to provide a foundation as we start to get into the specifics on licensing of each of the Power Platform components, which will be sort of that second piece there, licensing made simple. And then from that point, we're going to talk a little bit about the value proposition of the way that the licensing is structured, but also the product itself and how it's providing value to our customers across state and local government. And then, of course, as Deb mentioned, you have the ability of asking questions in the chat throughout, and we'll respond to those in chat. But we'll also have an opportunity at the end to answer any additional questions, as well as provide you with some links to some resources that'll allow you to dive deeper into any of the topics that we covered today around Power Platform and licensing. So with that, let's get into the basics. So many of you are familiar with the Power Apps based on your usage of Power Apps through your subscription to Microsoft 365, either whether you have an E3 or an E5 contract, or as we refer to it in government, G3 and G5. But to make it simple, what you get with the Power Apps that comes with M365 is the ability to build a Canvas app tied to a Microsoft 365 entitlement, meaning you could develop a Power App that's tied to a Excel spreadsheet, or that's tied to Outlook, or tied to a SharePoint list. But it's really designed for personal productivity, and that's why it's really sort of confined to the M365 entitlement. There are some, what I would call standard connectors, but they're very limited. And Power Automate workflow capabilities are also limited to those workflows that are part of M365 and your employees that are within the domain. As you can see on the right-hand side with Premium, it checks all the boxes, right? Because you get full entitlement of all of the features that are listed there, which we're going to get into in a little bit more detail down further in the presentation. So let's first just maybe cover off on what's included in the Power Platform Premium. So if we look at what constitutes Power Platform Premium going from left to right, of course, Power Apps. So in addition to being able to build Canvas apps, with the premium version, you're also able to build what we call model-driven apps. You're also able to, with your Power App license, build Power Pages. Power Automate is what we use for process and workflow automation. Copilot Studio is an AI-driven chatbot and conversational agent that you can use both externally on your websites, but also internally if you have an intranet or you want to put it in front of a SharePoint site, you can definitely do that as well with Copilot Studio, which is a standalone solution. And then Powered Pages. So you did hear me say you could build a Powered Page with your Power App license, but in order to deploy a Power Page, you would need a Power Page license, which is a capacity-based license, and we'll get into that a little bit. But Power Pages is really our tool for building websites or external portals that you want to have secure and have authentication around. You actually can even use Power Pages internally for your own intranet, but we've also seen Power Pages being used for replacement of forms. So using Power Pages for things like filling out forms and taking that dynamic information and having that flow back into Dataverse or follow some sort of an approval process. So Power Pages, lots of great applicability there. And of course, Power BI, which you're all familiar with, which is our data exploration, analytics, and reporting tool. Below the line, you see we have data connectors, which comes with our Power Automate Premium that gives you access to the data connector library, which I think is somewhere over 1,400 pre-built API connectors. But you also have the ability of building your own custom connector if there isn't one that's already built out and available. Microsoft Dataverse. So think of Dataverse as a relational database with the added ability to securely store, manage, and share structured data, not only across Microsoft Power Platform, but also across other Microsoft services. And then we have AI Builder. AI Builder is a pre-built configurable AI data model. So you can easily add AI capabilities to, let's say, a form process, or you want to create text categorization from a form and collect certain pieces of data on that form and have that flow into another data source. AI Builder is really a great, powerful tool that we use quite often. And then managed environments. So this is one of the benefits of the premium version over the version that comes with M365 is you have this capability of managed environments, which is going to give you proactive ability to be able to manage access to not only accessing applications, but also building applications and doing so in a way that's going to be in alignment with your security and policies around application development. Okay. So these are all the areas or all the different components of Power Platform. But what do you get with a license? Well, this is where we start to get into simplifying or demystifying licensing. So with a Power App Premium license, you actually get a lot of capability within the single license. Um, if you look here, of course, you're going to get Power Apps, which is going to give you the ability of not only building Canvas apps and model-driven apps and also building out portals, but it's going to give your users access to those applications as well. So having a license to build, but also gives a license or is a license for the users that would access that premium application that you've built. Power Automate. So Power Automate is going to come with Power Apps, and that's going to give you the ability to build automated workflows. It's also going to give you those data connectors, which is down below that we talked about, which is the library of pre-built APIs, but also the custom ability to build custom connectors using Power Automate. You're going to get Dataverse with that. It's going to include storage. So when you buy Power Apps Premium, they do provide you with a bulk of storage, but then you also acquire storage as you buy additional user licenses. Each user license comes with storage that is pooled at the tenant level. And then you're going to have the ability of deploying unlimited environments. So as long as you have 1 GB of storage, you can stand up an environment. And then it's going to include that governance and administration tools, which is off to the right-hand side there. That is something that's unique to the premium version as well. So one license, multiple capabilities that you're going to get with that license, and can do quite a bit with that. One thing also that's kind of new that's available is within Power Platform, we do have Copilot. So Copilot for Power Platform is included, and that's going to give you a lot of great capabilities as you're building applications, whether it's Power Apps or Power Pages, or you're building or creating a workflow with Power Automate. What that's going to allow you to do is through natural language capabilities, be able to start to build a workflow through natural language. And that is certainly a game changer for many people that are looking to build, or if you're looking to adopt a citizen developer model within your organization, allow business people to build applications with the right, obviously, credentials to do so. This could be very helpful, especially if they're not a developer. Okay, so I know that was a very quick overview on the Power Platform, but hopefully it set a bit of a foundation for you as we start to get into talking about licensing. And we're going to start out first talking about Power Apps. Okay, so once again, this is Power Apps Premium. And this is, we have a couple of different ways to license. And the first way is on a per app basis. So you can license on a per app basis. This entitles one user to access one application, $5 per user. And this is going to allow you to build an application and provide what we would call app passes to those users that you want to have access to the application. This is good for organizations that really just have like a single application in mind that they want to use a premium version for, and or they have a small use case, and don't have, let's say, a number of use cases that are top of mind that would, negate them wanting to go and license every app that they build, which could get quite costly at $5 per user. And this is why Microsoft has the second option, and the second option being the um, Power Apps. Oop, back up one. There we go. Power Apps Premium, which is a per user license. Okay. So this is going to entitle users to unlimited apps and web pages. So if you did build an internal portal, they would be able to access that portal with the Power App license. And that's $20 per user. Or if your organization is larger and you have more than, you know, 2,000 or more licenses, then that really reduces the price down to $12 per user. So this is can be a very simplified model for organizations, especially from a administration standpoint, right? So if you have more than one application and you're, 2,000 licenses or more, obviously you can start to see where you get economies of scale of buying a per user license versus a per app licenses. So best for businesses when you're looking at a number of different applications with Power Apps Premium, and you sort of look at it as, being more cost effective to just go ahead and have the unlimited app license, and then allows you to just build as much as you want without having to think about any increased costs and licensing as you continue to build. So very popular actually now. Since Power Platform has been out for a while, this is probably our most popular license choice. So let's talk about Power Pages. So think of if you get the Power App license and you saw all the things that come with that, we look at these as being sort of like add-ons to that license, right? So let's look at how we add on Power Pages, okay? So Power Pages, unlike Power Apps, is not a user-based license. We use users only to determine capacity. So think in terms of you're trying to figure out Power Page licensing and what tier you should be in. You are going to want to understand how many users do you think are going to hit, or people or visitors are going to hit that website per month? Okay. And then that's how you're going to figure out capacity. And we have two different types of capacity license. One is if you need authenticated user licenses. So this would be if you were had a website where you were, let's say, accepting applications, or you were looking to have that individual not only fill out an application, but also upload supporting documentation. Maybe you're taking on transactions. These would be sort of some typical use cases of when you would want to have the user authenticated. Maybe they're business partners. Um, you would want to use an authenticated user license. So the capacity is for a tier one would be if you have between one and, we have, call it under 10,000 users hitting that site, then you would be into tier one, and that would be $200 per pack, and a pack is 100 users. Okay. And then tier two would be if you had over 10,000 users, but less than 100,000 that are hitting the website. And that would be at $75 a pack. And then lastly, if you had over 100,000 site visitors, unique visitors hitting the site per month, then you would be at $50 per pack. And once again, a pack is 100 users as a measurement of capacity. And then we go on to the anonymous page. So anonymous would be somebody is just looking, accessing information, not really providing any information that would be considered to need to be secured, but basically just site visitors. So same tier model, one, two, and three. Um, but the pack on the anonymous is 500 users per pack. So same type of measurements on the tier one, tier two, tier three as the authenticated, but the pack model is 500 for anonymous versus authenticated is 100. All right. So I'll pause there because there's a lot of information on this slide for you to digest. Okay.
Hey, John, I think maybe pause here. There's a lot of chatter that I'm frantically trying to respond to about this. First of all, on the tiers, there's a couple questions about the tiers. I want to clarify. There was a question about like, do you have to buy the tier one packs and then go to tier two, almost like a tax bracket type model? Like that's not what it is. It's strictly if your volume puts you at 10,000 users, which equates to 100 packs, right? If you're buying 100 packs or more, you're into tier two, which means that all of your packs come with the tier two pricing. It's not like we have to buy 99 packs at tier one and then the price drops on the 100th pack. All of your
That's
packs would
correct.
be at that lower price, correct?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
There's a couple other questions. What is the configuration needed to create Power Pages without requiring the capacity pack? So let's also clarify that internal users that are licensed for Power Apps Premium, if I have a Power Apps Premium license, I am also entitled to use Power Pages both as a maker or a creator of those Power Pages sites and as a user of those Power Pages sites. So for creators, the license you want for people that are creating Power Pages sites is going to be a Power Apps Premium. That's going to give you all the Dataverse entitlements, which is sitting behind Power Pages. It's going to give you all the maker permissions to Power Pages. External users are obviously going to need the packs. If you happen to find an internal use case for Power Pages, you have a choice. You can license those users via Power Apps Premium, which obviously, if you have a broader low-code strategy around Power Platform and users are already licensed for Power Apps Premium, that's great. They're also entitled to use any Power Pages sites as internal users. Or you can have your internal users that are not licensed for Power Apps Premium that are accessing the sites through these capacity packs, just like an external user would.
That's correct. You've said it correctly, Doug. Let's just everybody remember that a pack is 100 users. The 1 to 9,999, let's just call it less than 10,000, is just the defines what that tier is. Okay. So for $200 per month, you don't get capacity for 9.9 thousand users, right? You would have to buy the number of packs to equate to that number. It's just giving you what the tier is defined as. But $200 is a single pack of 100 users. So if you needed 9,000, you would need to do the math on how many that would be. So, and I know in the resource that we're going to provide later, we'll give more in-depth information. So hopefully that will help.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of chatter. I think maybe we can circle
Okay.
back to it, but there was one, right? Like if you need 15,000 users, right, you would be buying 150 packs, just to play through an example. If you need 15,000 users, 15,000 divided by 100 is 150, right? So somebody pointed out that that slide needs one pack equals 100 users. We agree 100%, right? Like effectively the price at tier one is $2 per user per month, not $200 per user per month. Pack is 100 users. So if I need 15,000 users, 15,000 users requires 150 packs. 150 times 100 gets me to 15,000, right? All 150 of those packs would now come at the tier two pricing. So it'd be 150 times 75, which I can't do that math off the top of my head, at least not under pressure. So that's just to kind of take a specific example that somebody put in the chat. That's how it would work out.
Yeah, and we'll provide more detailed information after the session today. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, John. Carry on.
Okay, so Power Automate. So Power Automate does come with Power Apps, but we do have instances where people need to create an automation that is outside the context of a Power App, and they want to leverage and use robotic process automation, right? So if you were looking at wanting to use our RPA component of Power Automate, once again, you can license it two ways. You can license it based on user, which is $15 per user per month, or you can license based on the for unattended would be $150 per bot per month. So let's go to the $15 per user per month that enables licensed users to automate an application, right? Leveraging digital process automation or cloud flows based on robotic process automation at the desktop level in an attended mode, meaning like there is an individual that sort of kicks off that that automation, right? Hence why there needs to be a license to that user that kicks off the automation. On the unattended RPA, it's a bot, right? So we're just licensing the bot that's going to kick that off automatically. And so this way you're licensing a single automation per bot that's used for an unattended process or Cloudflow using the DPA, Digital Process Automation RPA bot. And that can be accessed by unlimited number of users within the organization. All right. So let's talk about Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio is a standalone solution right? That is different than other copilots. So the copilots you probably heard of with other Microsoft entitlements, those are very much specific to those entitlements. Copilot Studio really stands alone, meaning you can license this and not have really anything else of the Microsoft Power Platform. And so what this allows you to do is, as we talked about when we gave the overview on Copilot Studio, you can use this in front of an existing website. You can use it in front of an intranet or a SharePoint site. The developer licenses, so the people that would maybe build out the Copilot Studio or configure it, I should say, those developer licenses are $0, right? So you could have as many people within your organization have the user license for Copilot Studio, which is going to enable them to be able to develop. The actual license for the Copilot Studio that gives you the chat messages that you would need to go into production, um, those are $200 per tenant per month. And for each $200, you're going to get 25,000 chat messages per tenant per month. Okay. And you can add on as as the need necessitates, but that's basically the pricing there. Okay, and
And one
let's
thing
talk about.
to clarify there, based on a question that just came in, sorry, John. Um, this capacity lands in the tenant. So it is not tied to a particular bot or an agent, right? This is tenant capacity that can be consumed by one chatbot. It can be consumed by 20 different chatbots. There are ways to allocate that tenant capacity. You can allocate it to specific environments and therefore effectively allocate it to a specific agent if you want to. But when you purchase a pack, you now have 25,000 messages available in your tenant. And until you start allocating those, they can be consumed by any agents that exist anywhere in the tenant.
Thank you, Doug. And if you're wanting to try to understand, like, what does 25,000 chat messages get me, we can provide you with some information that would help on the calculation of that, or we can meet with you and or you can talk to your Microsoft account executive who could also probably help you figure out what your capacity needs would be for the chat messaging service. So AI Builder. So much like Copilot Studio, AI Builder is also a capacity-based model, and we have different tiered capacities for different size organizations and usage of this particular bot technology. Once again, it's something where there are calculators available for you to be able to figure out what your capacity is. But this gives you at least what the price is per tier. You are going to get what's called a million service credits per pack. And like I said, there's some calculations to figure out, how much the service credits get you for your particular use case. But we definitely can help you with that. This just gives you some of the tiered pricing. So to kind of just recap, we have the Power App licensing. We license that a couple of different ways. And then we have some add-ons, right? Some add-on licenses to the Power App license. One is for the RPA, robotic process automation. And then we have some capacity-based licenses, which are not user-based, but we do use users as a metric for figuring out capacity for Power Pages, and also for looking at capacity for Copilot Studio as well as AI Builder. So a number of different ways that we can, fulfill that. But I'd love to now turn it over to Carlos, who's going to walk us through some of the key value propositions around why this licensing and how Microsoft has designed it provides maximum value to our customers. So, Carlos, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Much appreciated. And just a quick intro. So my name is Carlos Oquendo Jr., and I'm a peer of John's, just working with state and local government customers, primarily in the East, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic region, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So after that quick intro, John, yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump in? All right, perfect. Thank you so much, John. So as we get ready to talk about, the value proposition and Power Platform and starting with Power Apps, I first wanted to appeal to you really from a personal consumer perspective, right? When we talk about value, I want to acknowledge that, the value something brings can certainly hold many definitions. So when we think about personal technologies that we purchase, whether it's a phone, a laptop, a smartwatch, smart home device, or even some of these AI services that are available today, right? There are many reasons that we do that, and there are many different value types that they can bring, whether it's things like saving time, perhaps saving money, maybe it's right your user experience, and hopefully make life easier, right? And maybe even more enjoyable. So when we translate that right to the licenses we've been talking about and looking at Power Apps, right? We want to make sure, hey, is there going to be some value, right, to the agency, the organization, as we look at adopting something like Power Apps? And what we can tell you is, right, as you can look at this graph, right, when you look at Power Apps, because you have that, for example, the license where you license each user can have access to unlimited number of applications in that particular model, right? The more apps you build, the more cost effective, the more value you get out of that particular license, right? And so we have many customers, and right, without naming them, right, that have adopted Power Platform as kind of like their go-to platform to say, hey, we want to go ahead and make sure we're building apps on this platform. And they've done some wonderful things like building onboarding applications, right? Grants management, contracts management, expense management, purchase order apps, right? Facilities and inspections, fleet management, right? You name it, on and on it goes, right? Any way they can modernize a process, they've been able to do it. And those folks that have done that are kind of seeing, once again, kind of like this curve here, that intrinsic value increase, right, as they continue to build on the platform. So that's essentially what we're trying to depict here and convey, is that, the more you adopt it, the lower that model kind of gets in terms of on a per app basis. We can go to the next slide. So we had Forrester do what we call a total economic impact study. And essentially what they did is they actually went out and talked to real world customers who adopted our platform. And they wanted to see, hey, what value did you get, if any, right, out of adopting Power Platform? And so kind of three main areas that kind of came out of this study. Obviously, there's a link at the bottom to see more details and more in depth on this study. But number one, it looked at, hey, how did it do with the development side of the house, right? And we do see that it did reduce development cost. Number one, it's going to reduce that by obviously giving professional developers a platform where, for some of those easier, quicker, kind of development tasks, they have a low-code platform where they can get that done much quicker. Then when you look at improved operational efficiencies, that's going to be from being able to automate manual tasks where now you're reducing errors right within that organization. And then the very bottom, it talks about reducing time to market. I always like to say from a government agency perspective, I would say reduce time to mission, right? Because each of you have a mission in your agency that you're looking to achieve. And so in your case, we would feel like that will be a reduced time to mission. And then finally on this slide, right, do more with less, right? That's obviously the name of the game. We want to make sure that whatever platforms we have can help ensure that we're efficient. But once again, like we saw on the previous slide, we can get maximum number of value out of it. And certainly we saw that with just kind of the minimized effort to build the applications. Same thing with automations. Obviously, with the introduction of Copilot kind of being infused into the platform, makes it much quicker, once again, because now you have natural language as a way to build automations and pages. We saw that as a factor as well, in once again being able to do more with less. Now, when we look at adoption of the platform, right, there was a survey that was done for CIOs, IT professionals, where they say, 89% of them said, hey, Power Platform is certainly increasing our efficiency. Some of the things we saw on the previous slide showed us why. One of the other numbers I want to call out here is that 48 million. So 48 million licensed users of Power Platform. It's funny, this came up actually when we had the Power Platform conference in Vegas. I thought this was an interesting statistic that in the course of a year, there's not even 48 million people that visit Vegas in the course of a year. I was very surprised to see that, but we have 48 million now licensed users of the platform and 7.4 million monthly active makers/developers. So right now, Microsoft Power Platform is certainly right at the very top of the list, the number one in terms of being the leader in this space. And don't take my word for it, right? Like, so obviously we're biased here, right? We're pro Microsoft, pro Power Platform. But when we look at, right, somebody like Gartner, and obviously I know this is small to see, but when we look at Gartner, who obviously doesn't, one of the leaders in terms of independent research, they have obviously what they call the magic quadrant, right? Where they look at and evaluate, right, all the folks in the low-code platform space, robotic process automation, digital process automation, cloud AI developers, et cetera. When you look at this extensive list here, according to them, we are the leader in all of these categories, right? And this is the only low-code platform that was a leader in all of these categories. So once again, right, obviously we believe in the platform, we love the platform, but even when you look at, when we're being evaluated, right, by somebody like Gartner, they're saying that we're also leaders in this space as well.
Thank you, Carlos. And I think we've got Deb, who's going to talk us through some of the resources so that folks that want to go deeper in the topics that we covered today at a high level can do so. Deb, take it away.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, we've got these resources. I put the links in the chat as well. I'll include it in the email follow-up. We've got the licensing guide and overview, and then we've got a few links to different capability FAQs. And then lastly, an online tool to explain all of the benefits of Dataverse. Dataverse is one of the capabilities that you get with the premium license of Power Apps. And there's a lot of capabilities within Dataverse itself. And that link there takes you to a site that explains it all. So leverage those resources. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording. And then